Hi, I'm KS Garner, and you're listening to the Solo Nerdbird podcast. Today, I'll be speaking with the crew from Dynasty 11 Studios here to promote their upcoming gaming event in April, Game Jam. Welcome, fellas.
Hey, Kayla, how are you?
I'm all right. But outside my introduction, you can go ahead and introduce yourselves and pretty much what you're all about.
Yeah, thanks, Kayla. And it's great to be back here. I had a wonderful time speaking to you last year about this time, and we're very glad to be back. With me today are two integral members of the Dynasty 11 Studios team. First off would be Alex Parraotto. He is actually the ideator of our game jam that we'll go into in a bit. He's a game design major at Rochester Institute of Technology. We're thrilled to have him as part of our team. And then the other member here with us today is Brian Sanyshyn. He is our composer, music extraordinaire. And he also spurred the idea of us doing this because he's been getting into game jams himself and stretching himself and learning and getting his talents out there. So this is sort of the nucleus for putting this event on. Myself, I'm the CEO and founder of Dynasty 11 Studios, creative director. An event like this to me feels great because, as gamers and in developing our app Player 2, that's a social networking and team building app for gamers. We want to show that we're part of the community of gamers and that we're trying to offer solutions to gamers and empower each other and lift each other up. And a game jam is a great way to do that. It gives people an opportunity to form teams, create new products, let new ideas marinate and, see what comes of them. And we wanted to get started with that and in growing our community within the larger gaming community. So that's where this all started. I'd love to toss it over to the other two fellows. Let's start with Alex, who can talk a little bit more about game design and why he loves game jams and what he sees in ours.
Yeah, sure. So game jams, I think, are just like kind of the best way to incubate ideas just in game design in general. Obviously you can do a lot of stuff over longer form projects, but I think like they're the best way to get the most ideas in the shortest amount of time. And also I personally really like designing games under limitations such as, time crunch or just general like theme limitations, stuff like that, which is why a lot of the games I make are intentionally limited, right? I make a lot of games with 4-color palettes and stuff like that. And it's, I could go more, but I think it lends a unique style and it kind of forces you to be creative within what limitations you're given. So I think they're one of the most effective ways to incubate new ideas. My current solo project was originally a game jam project. So, it's just kind of, you can definitely expand stuff from there, but I think it's just a great way to come up with, new fun things to work on.
Definitely, Alex. Brian?
Yeah, so I just actually did my my first game jam about a month ago, and it's the thing that I enjoy the most about it was just that there's just this massive community of indie devs and creative people who love playing games, and some people want to just do it casually, some people are working on it professionally, and it's just a sort of a great culmination, I guess, a way to bring all those people into sort of one space and really participate in something that they really enjoy. So I know for me too, the other cool thing was I worked on a team of, I think there were 7 of us, and we represented 7 different countries, which was also a pretty cool thing. So it just sort of reiterates just how wide globally the gaming community is, and it's just a really cool way to sort of bring everybody in together and do something they love.
So how has it been putting this event together? Like coming up with the idea of actually doing one, and then like the steps it took to evolve it into something that's real, that's actually happening soon.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and it's been parallel to our journey with Player 2 as well. I mean, you're familiar with us, and we're growing and learning and trying to get our footing in the industry and in the community. And I think rather than constantly blasting marketing noise, about, our product's coming, all this, I think we wanted to try and be a little more authentic about us, wanting to become game developers, become, a composer in the gaming industry, a designer, and, a business person in the gaming industry. And I think the game jam gives us an opportunity to get to know people in an authentic way, in a way that's not, it seems more that of a kindred spirit than that of a corporate succubus trying to, get money out of people. You know what I mean? Just for our own means. And so we've been looking for means for a while now. Our social media, we try to interact with people and we talk about different opinions on games and game dev and that kind of thing, and have that grounded interaction with our community. And then Brian came to us and said that he was taking part in a game jam and got the conversation going with our team about potentially doing one amongst, from ourselves. And we just, it really seemed like the right fit at the right time for us to get started with this kind of work in the community. And so far, we've actually had a surprising amount of responses where we just, posted on social media that we were hosting this event, and did a little bit about the the parameters of it, the time frame and everything, and that you had graciously offered to help us talk about the event and talk to the winners. And we've had a number of people actually reach out to us, just DM us on social media mostly, saying, hey, what's this about? Or hey, can I take part in this? And is it and I think that's a really cool thing for game developers, because it can be very daunting to try and crack into the industry or figure out where you fit in. And it's events like this that I think open the door for anybody to say, hey, let me take my shot. Let me meet some people. Let me see if I can put my talents with yours and create something special. So that's sort of the genesis of the idea. And I think we're all very excited to see how it unfolds in the coming weeks.
So how can participants sign up to participate in the game jam, and what are the requirements in order to compete?
Yeah, Alex, do you want to handle that one since you set up our Discord and itch pages?
Yeah, definitely. So the requirements, given this is an online game jam, are pretty simple for the most part. Pretty much you just have to go to our page on itch.io, which is like a general game and game jam hosting website, and then just hit the join jam button so you're able to actually submit once the jam starts. And the only other thing you really need to do is just join our Discord server, which has all the info you need. You can talk to other people, try to find a team, that kind of thing. Other than that, there really aren't any external requirements. You can go with any team size, any tool set, whatever helps you make the best game you can the best. So requirements for actually joining are pretty slim.
Okay, and what about you, Brian? You've hardly said anything this entire time. How is it, as the composer of all of this, where do you fit in, and how has it been for you?
I think I was the instigator of the work, and then about it. So no, I guess that's not true. But no, I think, just sort of adding to the whole idea behind it is that, the big ethos behind doing game jams is just, bringing the community together. And that is so similar to the whole player two concept, you know what I mean? And so I thought not only was it a good way to sort of bring people into the fold in terms of player two, but also just, lean into the fact that we're really big into being an open, welcoming community for gamers. And this is just another avenue to, to show that to people. So. Yeah.
Well, this is for all of you to answer if you like. What advice would you offer to other indie devs or anyone who wants to get into the gaming business, whichever it may be, that you wish someone would have told you when you all first started?
Brian, why don't you start, since you're in that exact moment, with your work.
So I to put it very simply, I would say just find a way to go do it. You know what I mean? So for me, Colin reached out to me a couple of years ago, and he and I go way back, but and he was like, I know that you like writing music. Why don't you come and write some music for my studio? And I was like, well, that sounds like fun. And fast forward about a year and a half, and I'm actually now in a grad program for writing music for video games. You know what I mean? And so through that, I get a lot of exposure there, doing stuff and meeting people, and then doing game jams. And actually the last jam, or the jam that I did about a month ago now, that team is actually now sort of turned around and decided that they want to use the people and the camaraderie that we have and launch that into a real game that they hope to actually publish sometime in the next year or two. So and literally it just came down to me deciding one day, this is something I want to do, and finding the steps. And the hope is that over time it continues to develop into a more significant part of my day-to-day life. So but just do it. Find a way to do it. Talk to people, do game jams, do this game jam. Yeah.
Well said. Alex, what's your take?
I honestly, I pretty much say the same, which is, the best thing to do is just to kind of do it and get some practice in. I think the best part about game jams, more than anything, is just they're great ways to get a lot of practice in, like I think just especially for managing a project, especially, it's just really nice to be able to do that in such a short time span and get so much stuff to happen so quickly. It definitely is a lot of work, but I think just to push yourself and to go do it. I think the only other piece of advice I would give that took me probably a decade to learn, so I'm going to attempt to impart all of that now, which is, I think that especially with game jams, you want to be very careful about not over-scoping, right? I think it's very easy to get very excited about what you're making, but realistically, you have 24 hours, 48 hours, or a week. The last game jam I did in the middle of my semester, and it was pretty tough to keep up with everything. So it's definitely, it's really important to just go out and do it, but also to make sure you pick something that's achievable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. And if I can give my 2 cents on it, is that, and this is sort of a different perspective, leading the D11 team, is that I would always encourage people to be as true to their own their own interests, their own motivations as possible. Embrace their own uniqueness. I think there's so much noise about what's popular, what's the right way to do things, what's trending, and I think if you start to whether it's because marketing is daunting or whether you're just trying to find your way to catch on somehow, that you can end up getting lost in what is popular rather than what is authentically you. I think that speaks to the gentleman here with me and the members of the Dynasty 11 Studios team, is that they're truly uniquely talented people, and they're special people too. And to me, I think that is that's what gives someone the greatest chance of standing out, of breaking through, is if your ideas are uniquely yours, because we're all so different and we're all so unique that if you embrace that, then people will take note, and it's hard to ignore something that stands out from the crowd. To me, even though there's so much noise, try to ignore it and embrace your own motivations, your own ambitions, and lean into it.
Well, how do you hold on to that authenticity? And more specifically, how do you keep your mental well-being in check against all of that noise? So, someone who's an indie dev or works at the studio, you being the CEO, you have the indie dev, you have the composer, but, you might also go to school. You must also have a family. You also have another job. Like, how do you keep all of that in check as an individual that doesn't interfere with the collaborative effort working in a studio?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? That is the challenge. I think you've hit it right on the head. For me personally, when I first started out the idea of Dynasty 11 Studios, and I intentionally put, sort of as Brian put earlier, our ethos of the studio on our website. And the idea behind that was, obviously I was looking for people to collaborate with. Most times I saw you had to have such and such specifications, training, school, whatever. And to me, it was more important to have a different level of connection, that kind of creative uniqueness that really resonates with me. And so what's up on our website is we talk about, almost the values of collaboration and teamwork, and having a unique perspective that are really important to us. And, obviously, other than Brian, who I go way back with, the other people in the studio found me. Alex is the perfect example of someone who I said what our studio is all about on our website. Alex was a student looking for an opportunity, and he reached out to me. And on a surface level, it obviously proves he's an entrepreneurial guy, and that's a great fit for a startup. But also, I think he knew right away that there would be a fit there beyond just getting into the industry. And, as he goes through school and we work on Player 2, we both have a lot on our plate. But I think, I enjoy working with him so much that it's a pleasure to make it work, around the noise of life, family, school, and that kind of thing. So to me, it's important to try and hang on to those values and those people that are important to you and embrace them, and those who detract from that add a negative noise to your life, to do your best to avoid them. And on a personal note, mental health is something that's been that's been very important to me for many years now. And you hit it right on the head at the start there, that to me, it's the most difficult part of this process. You can accept things like, finding money, finding, your way through marketing, and all these business focused subject matter being just a nature of the game. But one's mental health can be a much more complex and, insidious issue to conquer. And so, I appreciate you bringing that up. And, it makes it all that more important to know what you're about, focus on what you're about, and embrace those who are on that journey with you.
Mm-hmm. Alex, Brian, do you have another take on it? It's pretty much the same as Colin.
I actually, to add on to that a little bit, I would say one of the most important things is just to make sure, Colin said, with I think focusing really on the people in your life and on the project itself. Because I've had some projects with, some people that worked great together, some people that did not work as well together. And I think if anything, a good project where you uphold the values you wanted to from the start of the whole thing really comes from just you working with people that you work well with, and you vibe well with, and you have similar values too. I think at the end of the day, it kind of makes or breaks the project, because even if you really like the project, I feel like it's very easy to get burnt out if you are not enjoying the interpersonal experience of working on said project, which is somewhat regrettably why I like solo deving so much. But but definitely there is potential to have some amazing team experiences. I've definitely had those too. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, this is, one of 87 hats that I wear throughout the day. I'm a teacher by day, and I've got a wife and a dog and a life, and I do some freelance writing outside of this, and I play in a band, and it's just, there's a lot of other things that I do. But, at the end of the day, sort of like Alex just said, is if you enjoy being around the people that you're doing with, it makes it that much more enjoyable. You know what I mean? It's just that much more fun. It doesn't really feel super laborious. And so I think that, to Colin's credit, he's done a really good job of, number one, cultivating a really, really good atmosphere, especially considering that, many of us have not met face to face. It's all been online, and not even just because of COVID, just because of the fact that we have people sort of working from all over the place, but not only that, the people who are here, they just, they're just really good people, and they're really patient and incredibly professional, and just, fun people to be around. So that always makes, doing this fun. And when you're talking about games, that's sort of the whole point, right? Is that it's fun. So, that's largely, credit to Colin's leadership. So
thanks.
Kudos to Colin. All right, well, my last question for you three is, what is your idea of success? I ask that because as creators, if we're not getting regular paychecks from a full-time job or making consistent revenue from our creations, we're considered failures, or we consider ourselves failures. Many of us will put our dreams and projects on the back burner or give them up altogether, because this career path can be highly intimidating and competitive. So what is your idea of quote unquote success?
Alex, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I think maybe a few weeks ago I would have given you a different answer, which is, I think it's very important to make what you love, but also to have eyes on it. But I would say more similarly, it's just to make what you love, right? As long as it's not what your living is, because then that's a different issue, right? But as long as you're creating art that you're proud of, I basically spent my entire spring break getting a new demo out of something I was really happy with, and I couldn't get a lot of people to play it, but I am really proud of it. So at the end of the day, I still would consider that successful, even if, even if I haven't gotten a lot of people, if, the few people that have seen it told me it's really good, and I'm personally proud of it. So I would say I would personally put success entirely on just doing what you truly want to be doing. I think that's the most successful you can be in anything, personally.
Brian?
Yeah, I think any creative endeavor is obviously very subjective, and the biggest critics are oftentimes ourselves. You know what I mean? And but at the end of the day, it's the process is as important a part of it as the product, and we tend to disregard the process. The player 2 journey, from when it started however many years ago up until today, I think Colin would agree, hasn't necessarily been the smoothest, and it hasn't been without its trials and tribulations, but everybody has gotten something out of it, even if the product isn't there yet. We're almost there, right? But for me, like, I have yet to make a nickel from writing music for a video game, but that's not to say that I haven't gotten a lot out of the process. I've learned so much in the last 2 years, and that in and of itself is sort of its own unique success. I think, like I said, oftentimes people get too caught up on the product being some smashing success right from the get-go, and that's not true. So from a music perspective, take my favorite classical composer is Gustav Mahler, and he was not very well received while he was writing music, and then he died, and in his death he was this just like glorious guy, you know what I mean? And so it's easy for us to get down on ourselves in the moment, but I think just staying positive and keep moving forward, and do what you got to do.
Yeah, that's great. And to build off Brian, I sort of have a twofold answer. The first thing I would say is, specifically in regards to player 2, is that success to me is seeing it through. You know what I mean? Whatever level of success we have, say financially, to me, having this been a multi-year endeavor and meeting people, building this team, seeing all these wonderful talents come together, I want to see this thing through to the end. And, like he said, the journey is not a linear one. The first time we talked to you, it was because we were doing a Kickstarter. The Kickstarter failed. However, from all the effort we put into the Kickstarter and what we built about player 2 allowed us to then form a partnership with Drexel University. And they've been instrumental in helping us get player 2 to the point where we're on track to release this year. I didn't see that coming when we were initially applying for the Kickstarter, but you can't choose just one path and assume it's going to work out that way. You have to stay flexible, determined, and see it through. So that's one part of it. And then quickly, the other part would be from a leadership point of view. I want to see that the people I'm working with are happy, that they're satisfied, that they're fulfilled. That's success to me. Especially in an industry where, crunch time, burnout, overtime are so rampant, I want to see my team feeling that they are in a place they want to be, as far as being able to actually live their lives, feel fulfilled, be healthy and happy with their work, and feel like they're a part of something that, when they invest their time and effort, that it was all worthwhile in the end. And I think that's something that it's definitely the most, heartwarming thing about this whole process, is that despite the ups and downs, the team is so motivated and so energized about what we're building that it gives me great confidence that in the end, we'll achieve the measure of success that we're looking for.
Is there anything else that any of you wanted to share or touch on about Game Jam, the event as a whole, that I may have missed? Maybe prizes for the winners?
Brian, anything?
No, I mean, just, if you're somebody who wants to, break into this industry, get at it. Just, you gotta start somewhere, right? So just,
shoot your shot.
Yeah, that's it.
Alex?
Honestly, my advice would probably just be the same. The best thing to do is, just shoot your shot, get yourself out there and just kind of do it, regardless of how small that start is, it's a start, So I think game jams are a perfect way to do that. So, I think this is a great opportunity for people just looking to kind of get their foot in the door. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of them. And to what you said, Kayla, about, rewards, prizes, and that kind of thing. Because we are building a social platform, we want to empower those who, are going to help each other on the way up is the whole mentality. And, those who want to be a part of the Game Jam here, and, will get featured on our social media, and those who win will have the opportunity to speak to you and talk more about, not just their game, but what's important to them, their journey. And I think the more we share about that, the more we can all learn about how we can all navigate the passion of becoming game developers.
All cool stuff. Cool. All right. Well, again, I want to thank the crew from Dynasty 11 Studios here to promote their upcoming game tournament in April. Is it titled Game Jam or is it just a game jam?
Yeah, so the game jam is sort of the industry lingo for this kind of get together or hackathon kind of build a game in a short period of time. So it's the Dynasty 11 Studios Spring Game Jam. We hope to be able to do this with more frequency. We'll see how the first one goes, but we'd like to do it even quarterly, seasonally, that kind of thing, just to keep giving creators the opportunity to be seen and find people to work with.
Okay, well, I want to thank the crew from Dynasty 11 Studios here to promote their spring game jam in April. Colin Johnson, Alex Parraotto, and Brian Sanyshyn. I highly recommend our listeners to consider participating in the game jam tourney. All of Dynasty 11 Studios socials and website will be listed in this episode's details for those who are interested. Again, I am KS Garner, and you have been listening to the Solo Nerd Bird podcast. Thank you.